And you're with Geniene, the real South African, and we're at the Ultimate Braai Festival with one of its founders, Pete. And were you there in the beginning?
Yes. It's been from the outset. I've been working with Chris and Tabitha, helping to put and conceptualize the whole thing. So yeah, it's been great. This is our third year, and it keeps getting bigger and better.
I think what was so nice about this year is there's grass and trees.
Yeah.
And for me, that I know Monty was a great venue, but because it was close, but here is lovely because we've got trees and grass. There was cement. So it just didn't lend itself to a braai.
This feels like braai.
Yes.
I agree completely. This is the perfect venue. It's a bit of a distance, but there's loads of parking.
But isn't that what we always do when we want to go braai? We travel.
Yeah, but that's also fine. I mean, I don't have a problem. I'm from Cape Town, and we're driving everywhere. It's a small city, but there's always you're heading off to Paarl or to Stellenbosch or to Franschhoek or Hermanus. So it's part of the day out is that drive. But this is the most amazing braai kind of vibe.
I thought it was lovely because it's so well set out in terms of the fact that you have your theatre, which can almost be considered a wedding venue.
Yeah.
So you have the section which is theatre, you have another section which is music, and now they're watching the rugby, and then of course there's all the stalls.
For me, the nice thing about the way it's laid out as well is you kind of like discover. You go through a little bush, and there's another little section there to explore.
Absolutely.
And it's like wandering around, finding these
Alice
little
in Wonderland.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Through the what do they call it? Through the rabbit hole.
Yeah, down the rabbit hole.
I think there is a braai ferry around here somewhere.
Oh, there is. Dave is wandering around.
I think that's such a lovely idea.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. He came up with it himself, and now he owns it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
the braai ferry?
Oh, the braai ferry, yeah.
Well, I must admit, when we look around and I see all these like really upmarket braais, I always think when we were kids, we used to travel to places like Bronkhorstspruit and Badplaats just for the day because they had a swimming pool. And as far as we were concerned, we were out for the day.
Yeah.
And there was always a braai, but they were never that fancy.
No,
there was a couple of bricks,
cement thing,
and the old the grid that probably a million people had used, and we never got sick.
No, funnily enough, not.
When you look back now, you
hardier then than we are now. I think
we were.
It's like anything. The cars, the fridges, they were made to build. They were made to last in those days.
They were. So tell me a little bit about Pete. What's been your journey?
Sure, I've been. In fact, this is my 40th anniversary in the kitchen. This year, I've been cooking for 40 years. And I've been very blessed to have had a very varied career in terms of what I've got to do. I've used food to travel over the globe, writing, television. It's been fantastic. I've been really, really fortunate. I mean, first television was Ultimate Braai Master, which was actually MasterChef, South Africa MasterChef, which was about, I think, I stand corrected, 2012.
Correct.
So,
no, it was just after that because I was on Come Down With Me 2013 and somebody said, are you going to enter MasterChef?
Yeah.
And I think MasterChef had just started in this country.
Yeah.
Because I think there was only a couple of series.
I think we did 4 seasons. We did 1, 2, and 3, and then we did a season of Celebrity.
Yeah. And that's where you met Chris.
That's myself and Chris's connection. And since then, it's changed my life completely. So now I get to get invited I get to call a day like this work. You know what I mean? I'm here, I do a couple of braais, a couple of demonstrations, judging a couple of competitions, and this is a day at the office for me, so I'm blessed.
So now, in terms of judging, you're pretty well known as a judge. Is it sometimes nice just to step away from being a judge and just cook for friends and family?
Oh, yeah, completely. I mean, look, it's two separate things. For me, the judging element is always a difficult one because, you don't want to... Everyone thinks their food is fantastic, and you really got to be very careful about critiquing people's food because this is something they've done out of love. This is something they take very, very personally. So sometimes when it's not so great, you've got to figure out a way to tell people, or you're trying to be constructive and positive about how it might be better next time. You can't just simply say that was cuck, although I've been known to do that.
The brutal honesty sometimes is a better option, but I do understand what you're saying.
No, look, I think as long as, for me, the screaming and shouting, the sort of Gordon Ramsay method of just cucking someone out from a dizzy height, that for me, it serves no value. If you're going to give someone a hard time with it, you've got to say, well, A, what's wrong with it technically, and B, how it could be better. So even if the criticism is harsh, it must always be constructive. Someone must learn something from a bollocking.
Well, I must tell you, some years ago, and I can't remember how many years ago, but it was a number of years ago, we were asked to judge a Boikiko's competition. So we thought, it's not difficult, we can do this. And we arrived, as we did, on time, and nobody else did.
Yeah.
And there were, I think, something like 22 pots that had entered, and it was myself and my husband.
Wow.
And he was the potjie master, if you like. I was just the media. So there the two of us were trying to test 3 different types of meals for every single pot. And there were 22 pots.
It's harsh, huh?
And there we were, kind of like getting along. And eventually by the end, they all taste the same.
Yeah.
Because how do you know the difference between the first one and the last one?
It takes a lot of training to be able to keep that freshness. And it just comes with practice. A similar thing happened to me. I did a potjie cost competition in Franschhoek many years ago. And same thing, I was the single judge, and it was, again, 20 odd pots. And now the guys, every time I go there, I've got a brandy and Coke in my hand. Oh, and it was actually quite funny because I was feeling, by the end of it, quite tipsy. And the next day we were traveling up to Georgia, and I had this, what to me was a terrible hangover. So I've got no respect or any kind of care from the rest of the carload of people, because I'd done this to myself. Turns out I had tick bite fever because the hangover didn't go away, and 3 days later I still had this terrible hangover. I was sick as a dog, and it turned out that I had tick bite fever. I don't know that I got bitten at the potjie cost competition, but it's certainly a potjie cost competition that I will never forget.
Well, it's like we just never forgot that one.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to him in the beginning, how do you score these things?
Yeah.
And he said, well, you kind of you look at the score sheet and you kind of give them a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 10.
Yeah.
He said, and at the end, we just take whatever's the top 5, and then we whittle it down against each other, and we find a winner, you know?
Yeah, look, for me, it's always, the thing is, and I say to other judges, at the end of the day, when it's close, you're going to, which is the pot that you'd go back and eat? That, for me, is always, that's always for me, when it's tight scoring, go back, which pot would you visit a second time? And that, for me, is always the winner.
But it's nice to see so many chefs that are coming up as well. I noticed there used to be Cebu's table, and then I saw Cebu was on Bake Off, the British Bake Off. They came to South Africa. I saw she was on there, and I thought, wow, she's really cool, actually. And watching our own development as we follow what the others do. But what's nice about Ultimate Braai Master, it's never been copied overseas.
No.
Like, if you look at what the Americans do with those barbecue competitions, I mean, those 10 guys that get chosen, they've got an entire venue bigger than this each.
Yeah.
And then they get told they've got a pit, and they've got the fires, and they've got the smokers, and they've got to cook through the night. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, those guys are serious about their cooking.
What's interesting when you watch, because there's a great one that's on Netflix at the moment called Barbecue Showdown.
Yes.
And that's one of the things. They do these offset smokers, and they cook briskets through the night. But on a couple of episodes, which I found quite interesting, when they're doing just grilling, that what we call braaiing, in kind of over open pit fire, they all struggled. They were really struggling to actually braai, which I thought was quite interesting. That it's a discipline. It's 2 very separate disciplines. I think the whole barbecue vibe, I love it, and it's slowly but surely we're seeing it here, because it's nice to use the rest of the meat. You know, we've been very fortunate in South Africa with the quality of the meat that we only ever eat the prime cuts. We've never really had to eat the secondary stuff, and now economics being what it is, everyone wants to eat the entire animal. So those things lend themselves to those long and slow. And for me, to be in all honesty, a slow cooked brisket that's been done, whether it's done on a fire or in an oven, for me is tastier than a steak. The steak is quick cook, and it's nice, it's lovely, it's juicy, but the depth of flavor from that slow cooking for me is always a winner.
It's always a win. But it's because, like, South Africans, we're such carnivores, and I think the Americans are the same. You know, as much as they do the vegan and vegetarian and whatever, they're still carnivores. And you watch how I mean, if you go to those competitions, or you don't go to them, but you can see them on TV, there's probably 1,000 of those guys who all know each other, and they all kind of compete, and they seem to compete almost on a weekend by weekend basis.
Yeah.
We're not there yet.
No, it always amazes me, but that there aren't more braai competitions here, because it's part of our lifestyle, you know. And say with the Americans, yes, there is always some kind of festival happening every weekend, and these guys do go around a complete competition circuit. I'd love to see more of it, not the barbecuing, but the competition stuff. I think we have such fantastic braais, and we have such fantastic ingredients, that it would be nice to see more competitive stuff on a more regular basis.
I agree with you, and I think when in about 2003 we decided with Chevrolet, Weber, and Aventura, we were going to do a Sunny Skies, Chevrolet Sunny Skies, and it was rugby, Sunny Skies, and Chevrolet. Yeah,
that's it.
And we were going to tour the Aventura. So we literally started at one Aventura and we toured through all of them.
Oh, wow.
Every weekend we did a braai competition. So you could either enter a potjie or a braai, open fire or potjie. And Weber participated, which was nice. So the prize was a Weber. And then we had things like Mr. and Mrs. Funny Legs competition and the Mr. and Miss Young competitions. And we had all of these things happening during the time that the braais were happening. And then there was this lighting the fire ceremony. So it was like everybody had to light their fires at the same time. Yeah. It was a very big thing that, because the guys didn't like it if you lit the fire before he did, because that meant, they took it very seriously. But it was such fun because the caravanners, and they would know about it before we arrived. So we'd include the caravan park and the campers, and we'd always say to them, they said, why don't you let us know when the next one happens? I said, because we don't want you to bring a fancy setup. We want you to take your chops and your braai from your campsite and bring them to a competition. Because if you know how to braai, you don't need the fancy equipment.
No, for sure.
You literally need a fire, a grid, and a good seasoning. Yeah. And you're done. And the sides are always done by the chicks.
Yeah.
It depends on how sober you are.
Yeah. No, but also that's the thing about, and the reason I say, I'd love to see more braai competitions is because it's not just about the cooking competition. It's everything that goes with the braai. It's the family, it's the people, it's the geselligheid, it's that conviviality of the table that braai embodies. And so even if you have a competition, there's always a whole lot of other stuff that comes with the braaiing, which for me is part and parcel of what cooking on fire is all about.
And especially, if you are a vegetarian or a vegan, there's no reason why you can't participate. But what always makes me laugh about a vegan dish or a vegetarian, they will call it a chicken burger. And I'll say, why are you calling it a chicken when it's not a chicken? Call it a vegetable burger because that's what it is. Yeah. Why do you pretend it's chicken?
Although it's actually quite interesting when you say with the vegetarians. I did a golf weekend a couple of years ago, north of here in Polokwane, and part of the Friday night, the first day, that we had a potjie kos competition, and the winners was a vegetable pot. It was beautiful. It was so perfectly seasoned. The vegetables had crunch. It was a magnificent pot of. Oh my word! Did I get in the neck for the rest of the weekend? If one person, 50 people came up and said, how can be a veg pot? How can a veg pot win a competition? I said, guys, did you taste it? Nah, it's a veg pot. He said, do yourself a favor. And it was just one of those funny things to try and explain to people. It was streaks ahead of everyone else's pot.
But vegetables can really make, because when you're at a braai, you can't just eat the meat.
No.
There's got to be a salad or a mealie or a pap or something that goes with it. So why is it that you can't have something that doesn't necessarily have the meat?
Yeah, well, this is it. It's interesting because I tried to do recently, last year, in fact, I tried to do the carnivore diet, which is no vegetables, it's just strictly protein. And I couldn't do it. I lasted 2 weeks. I thought this will be easy, but after 2 weeks, I was hankering for that corn on the cob or a nice
just that refreshing
crisp Greek salad or something. Just that I want the variety. You need the two to balance each other out.
Well, I must tell you, we've just come back from Burkina Faso, and that was really interesting. And it was interesting from a couple of perspectives. We went to a fish farm where they were also serving like meat and things like that. It was covered in flies. Yet, the one thing that they insist that you do is wash your hands before you eat, and you eat using a serviette. Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't make 100% sense, but okay, that's your lifestyle. And then I didn't trust the meat. When I travel, I don't trust what Africa does with their meat. So we tend to stick to vegetables or fruit or whatever. So I decided a burger was given to me, and I thought, it looks a bit suspect. I'll just take the meat off and just eat the rest, which is what I did. And I got sick. And apparently the lettuce made me sick.
Oh, really, huh?
And apparently lettuce, if not washed properly, can make you really, really sick. And when I wrote it on Facebook, somebody said it was the lettuce. And I was like, oh, yeah, right. Yeah. And they said, no, lettuce, if not washed, can be the problem that you are so sick. And I had food poisoning for 2 days.
Yeah. We had a similar, we were shooting MasterChef, and we were in Zanzibar, in Stonetown at the market there. And we were doing a challenge one evening in the market, and they found a little vendor who was doing these chicken shawarmas in pita. And so we co-opted him to do the staff food for the crew. And I think 50 or 60% of us were all sick the next day. And I still remember eating this because it was dark, and I'm eating, and I think this chicken is incredibly soft because there was no light.
No light.
I looked at it, and it was raw. It was just And yeah,
Ouch.
the rest of us. I say one thing about Zanzibar. The softest toilet paper I have ever encountered anywhere on the planet.
That's one good memory.
Yeah, it was. It was just like, oh, it's like
So, Pete, what's next for Pete?
the rest of the year is looking nice and busy. I've got a lot of consulting. I'm heading to Mozambique in 2 weeks. I've got 2 lodges that I work with on Benguera Island. So that I'm looking forward to, and then I've got some lodges up in Zambia that I visit on a regular basis.
I hope you're going to send us some material and let us carry it on our TV, because we're particularly fond of Mozambique, and we interviewed the ambassador of Mozambique the other day.
Yeah.
And at the end he said, I don't know why I was in this interview when you know more about Mozambique than I do.
Well, in fact, they've got there's a fantastic Braai festival that's going on as we speak now in Maputo. And there's a number of South Africans there. Kevin Meat Ranger is there, Baptist Free from Asador, Biggie Best is there. So we're actually well represented this weekend. And if I wasn't there, I would have been. I wasn't here. I would have been there. It's a fantastic festival they do every year.
Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for joining me. I mean, it's been so nice to talk to you.
It's been great. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
And we'll definitely follow you some more.
Fantastic.
Because whenever I see you on TV, I go, oh, there's Pete. I'll watch this.
Well, you can follow me on Instagram on Chef Pete GW.
Chef Pete GW.
Yeah, that's me on Instagram.
Because we follow Benny as well whenever we see him, because you become personal friends. You're in our living rooms.
Well, I think that's the thing about television, particularly reality television, is you're not an actor, you're not playing a role, you're just being yourself. So I get that all the time. People come up because they feel they know you, because they've seen you and you're in their living room, and it's like, I love it. I mean, I love it. Don't you find that somebody will greet you and you think, do I know this person? Yeah. They did that after I was on Come Dine With Me. These strange people were coming up to talk to me, and I was like, do I know you? Yeah. But the funny thing is also it works both ways. Is people think they know you from somewhere and they don't know where it is. They go, oh, and so I greet everybody as if I'm equally, because you never, it's just polite. If you're going to be on television, and you've got that public persona, you've given up the right to be private and to not be. If you don't like it, then you won't come to festivals like this. If you're here for the day, like I am for the. I'm game. I love taking selfies with people and chatting to people about recipes. But it's all part and parcel.
And what time are you on tomorrow?
Tomorrow, Braai Master's on at 5:00. ETV. It's episode 3 of season 9.
And on this stage,
so here I'm on again at 6. Myself and Chris are on again at 6. And then I think same as today, 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock tomorrow. Well, we look forward to seeing you again on stage.
Great
Pete, it's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm Geniene from The Real South African.